seeing as we're getting to that time of year when it's about 1,000 degrees outside and it's basically become the desert level for Mario where the sun tries to kill you, I figured why not take a look at an episode that may not be the best, but it's all about that heat.
I got thrown down the avalanche, naked!
Joseph, why didn't you help him?
Because I ran away.
Nicely done.
Hey folks, welcome to Squirrel Tactics. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out our Patreon, our sister channel, our merch store, and we have another new top tier patron this week. So, Ashley Alexandra, this one's for you.
All right. Someone's insane. Look out, someone's insane.
I got my eye on you, nutcase.
Alright, let's get into it. Four-wave intersection. The title comes from four-way intersections, which are kind of self-explanatory, at least in principle. Sadly, in execution, not always so much. And waving because Bill does the whole heatwaver thing. This episode has three plot threads. Bill as the heatwaver, the kids trying to use a ride at a water park, and Boomhower being conflicted about getting older. It takes place during a heat wave, or as we call it in Texas, summer. You know that time of year when you come inside out of the sun and you feel like Constantine after he just got back from hell.
Jesus. Constantine, what?
Twins.
Jesus.
We start out as we often do with the guys in the alley, drinking beer in the heat for some reason. I don't really get that. If y'all wanted to drink together, that's cool. Go in the garage or in some shade. I guarantee y'all that being in the shade makes a huge difference. But no, they stand out in the open, sweating through their clothes.
Oh, too hot! Can't make it to my house!
A few things here. First, Con is wearing a long sleeve button up work shirt and pants. Not exactly the coolest combination. And I mean that both thermally and aesthetically. We've seen him in much cooler clothes before. Maybe it's time to bust those bad boys out rather than dump a cooler over your head. Which brings me to B. Con has a pool. The guys built an in-ground pool in Con's yard back in season 10's Orange You Sad I Did Say Banana.
Bobby,
Not again, Mr. Dough Tree, can't you just chew?
Go jump in that thing. What are you doing? Oh, and if for some reason he doesn't want to use his own pool, guess what? Lucky and Luann have a pool too.
Hey, Uncle Hank. Guess what? Right this second, the pH balance in this pool is absolutely perfect.
Anywho, Boomhower decides it's time to do a little trimming to his trousers and turns his blue jeans into cut-off shorts, which doesn't make any sense to me because of what Hank says.
I guess that makes it official. It's summer, all right.
Is it me, or did it just get a few degrees cooler since Boomhower walked out?
Oh, man, that little dang old breezy, man.
Man, that's a straight cut. Will you do me a half shirt?
So if Boomhower does this every year, he has other pairs of already cut off shorts and he doesn't need to ruin a perfectly good pair of pants. I also think Con could definitely pull off the half shirt. Granted, this is later season Con who's pretty ripped as opposed to earlier season Con who was built more like the other guys. Still don't understand why they're not wearing this. Boomhower's already wearing the same bottoms and they're not using the pool.
You know, sometimes I think I'd like to visit Indiana. Is that weird? Hey, man, I don't go with that feeling, man.
I think that's a great dream, Hank.
Thank you.
We see Boomhower getting the right idea of washing his car. That's a great way to cool down. It makes sense. However, things go awry when he sees a couple of pretty ladies walking by randomly through a neighborhood alley, and he tries to do a bit of peacocking, though it doesn't go as well as he would have hoped.
Nice Daisy Dukes.
You know, at least they knew Daisy Duke. Probably a decent chance they knew who she was and why those shorts are called that. Though, to be fair, Daisy Dukes would be considered pretty tame nowadays. What matters here is that it makes Boomhower sad. Being laughed at will do that. And he probably filled those Daisy Dukes out a little bit better when he was younger, a fact that he's realizing. Probably also realizing the old razzle-dazzle don't work like it used to. Then we're introduced to Plot 2, where Bobby and Joseph are trying to beat the heat inside the Hill House. Joseph having a pretty damn good reason for retreating from his home.
My dad has the heat cranked all the way up. He said something about fighting fire with fire, but It wasn't working for me.
Okay, yeah, that's very Dale. That's an extremely Dale thing to do. Also want to point out that Joseph is eating Sunshine Farms ice cream, which is probably a nod to Bluebell, considering the cow on the front and that it comes in circular tubs like that, just not quite that tall. Magically, as the boys are complaining about the heat, a commercial for a local water park just happens to come on TV. And in all fairness, these places tend to advertise a crap ton, especially on local television stations. I spent many a summer Saturday trying to watch horror movies on a Dallas station, all the while being inundated with commercials for Hurricane Harbor and the Diesel Driving Academy. Come on now, sing it with me.
Call 1-800-551-8900. Diesel Driving Academy.
Part of the reason I regurgitated that memory onto all of you fine folks is because we see an ad for Big Water, and it's very much in the same vein as those ads.
Get wild, get wet, get cool, go bananas. Ooh. As the water's gone wild on the San Pedro exit, take the second left on Antonito Boulevard.
It's catchy, it's punchy, it gives you the address in the jingle. That's crafty marketing right there, I tell you what. Now, there's water parks all over Texas. Long dry summers, lots of open land. Kinda makes sense. But my guess is that this park is based off of Schlitterbahn. More specifically, the one in New Braunfels. Yes, the same New Braunfels that was probably the inspiration for New Hoffenheim.
Here, you can give this to your mother. It's the fully executed copy of the, adoption papers.
I know how hard that must have been for you, Dad. You want to talk about it?
Just get your mother.
They have a surfing simulator there too called the Boogie Bond. I'm not making that up. And they don't have a big Katuba?
Now featuring a big Katuba, the hottest, coolest wave in Texas.
Go bananas.
But they do have something known affectionately as the Master Blaster.
Right. Bartertown.
You know who.
Say.
Master Blaster.
No, not that Master Blaster. This one involves water and fun, not pig crap and misery, though there's a decent chance you'll hear Tina Turner either way. Now, the name Big Water might come from Epic Waters, a water park in Grand Prairie, though much of it is indoors, so it's visibly different. And let's be honest, there's a whole host of water parks out there that are named a combination of water and a word that essentially means big or great. Bobby literally begs Hank to take them to the water park, like down on his knees and everything. That, in combination with the puddle that Joseph was forming on Hank's couch, seemed to do the trick and change Hank's mind. So he agrees to take them. They grab up Connie too, and they head out on a grand adventure to Big Water.
Get wet, get wild, get cool, go bananas. Off the San Pedro exit.
It's right there.
Thank God.
However, along the way, we get a start to Bill's plot for the episode where he gets a flat tire and rather than change it, he calls Hank to come and get him. It is possible that he doesn't have a spare nor AAA. After all, he's got Hank. Why would he need those other things? And even though Bill knows that Hank is on the way rather than sit in his car with the AC running or, anything halfway intelligent like that, no, he decides to freak out and wave down motorists in order to get help, which he didn't need and had on the way anyway. And keeping with the whole agent thing we got going on with Boomhower, I hate to say it, but sometimes I agree with Coach Sowers.
Don't retrieve! My God, man, what happened?
Bill went from dragging defenders across a goal line like a horse crank-fueled juggernaut
Yep. Chipped my spine on that play.
to this.
Where's Hank? I can't take it. Help! I need help!
Yeah, seriously, that question needs to be asked.
My God, man, what happened?
But that's what we get on the roadside, and as is way too often the case, Bill's cries for help are either ignored or mistaken for something else. Boy, I know how that goes. But this time it's mistaken for waving, as the passers-by simply wave back, which Bill eventually accepts as a good thing.
They're really waving at me. I'm waving at you! And you! And you! Hello!
Bill will of course do what Bill does and take things way too far to his own personal detriment, but we'll get to that. First, Hank and the kids get to Big Waters, where Bobby wants Hank to get him a season pass rather than just a day's entrance, which I have a few issues with. One, this episode was set in 2007, and if we go off of what Schlitterbahn charged for a season pass in 2007, the early bird price was $79.99. I couldn't find info on the regular price, but we'll just go with $80, and that's $80 times 3 because he's buying season passes for all 3 kids. So $240, and we all know damn well Hank ain't getting a penny of that back from Con or Dale. Also, season passes aren't a great idea anyway. The kids are gonna go on every ride and slide within a single day, then get bored. American Dad had a whole episode about that.
Is that it?
We've done everything on the map twice.
But this is the biggest water park in the world. We can't be done already.
Let's see, 50 slides, each about a minute long. We didn't wait in any lines. We ran everywhere. Yeah, less than 2 hours.
Damn it!
So they're not going to want to go enough to get Hank's money's worth. And even if they did go enough times, it's far enough away that they have to be driven, and then they have to be picked up later on. And as someone without kids, yeah, that's a lot of unnecessary leaving the house. Luckily, it seems that there might be some kind of ride share because we don't only see Hank taking them, but that should be something worth taking into consideration. Or maybe this is a situation where it would be totally worth it. Who knows? What we do know is that it wipes out Bobby's summer entertainment budget.
Don't come to me in a couple of days and say you're bored of the water park like you did with the French horn lessons, the karate lessons, and spy camp.
I won't. I'll be too refreshed to bother you.
Meanwhile, at the
Fun center, fun center, fun center, fun center, fun center.
Boomhower is still dealing with the aging process and chooses air hockey as a chance to reclaim his youth. However, arcades really aren't as much of a thing now, and they were already on the decline back then. Plus, kids like to play video games more than air hockey. Well, I mean, more often than not. So he doesn't have any takers except for one guy who just makes him feel even older.
Hey man, that old air hockey, man. Who one of them dang old gonna take on a champ, man?
Let me see what you got.
Hank shows up to change Bill's tire while Bill continues waving to passing traffic. He could have helped or handled it himself, but whatever. I do like that Bill gets joy from bringing joy. Yeah, that, especially when a busload of little kids drives by, which must be for summer school or maybe a class trip or something along those lines because this is during the summer. Hence why Bobby, Joseph, and Connie are out of school and at a water park. Hank is worried about Bill exerting himself out in the heat. Hell, he'd be worried about Bill if he wasn't exerting himself in the heat. And he makes a pretty good point here about why Bill should probably put the whole heat waving thing on pause.
Bill, it's over 100 degrees out and you don't have, how do I say this? You don't have many health assets. You should get inside.
Bill listens, but as Bill is driving away, the guys on the radio start talking about the mysterious man waving at traffic. And seeing as Bill typically feels unseen and unwanted,
Get lost, Bill!
to hear himself being referred to as a hero gives him quite the boost. So he decides the people need their hero, and that means that they need the heat waver.
People toss around the word hero, but this guy's a real hero. I don't know his name, so I guess we can only call him the Heat Waver.
Thank you, Heat Waver.
I matter. Take that, Dad!
So yeah, he pulls over and gets back to it with gusto. Back at the water park, the kids want to use the surf simulator. However, apparently Coconut Island has a club-style entrance, where only certain people are allowed in, and those certain people don't include Bobby, Joseph, or Connie. They're told the ride is only for locals. As Hank would later point out, it's a water park. No one lives there, so there's no one that's a local. But Bobby ain't happy with being told no, so he marches right up the stairs to find an adult. At which point he and we meet Bodie, Surfer King of Coconut Island, voiced by David Herman because of course he is. And yes, some of you may have recognized the name Bodie as being the name of Patrick Swayze's surfer character in Point Break.
That's Bodhi. They call him the Bodhisattva.
Probably where this douche nozzle stole the name from. He's of no help because he's the root of the problem. And it certainly doesn't help when Bobby decides to go full on Karen and starts demanding things, and well,
I have a summer pass and I demand to cool down and get wet.
he gets what he wants, just probably not the way he wanted it.
Don't do this!
Ride this wave, Gromit.
Don't get it twisted here. I am not defending Bodie or his little cronies. They're being gatekeeping bullies to the smaller kids, and they deserve to get knocked down a few pegs. That being said, there is literally an entire water park full of other rides and slides and all that jazz for the kids to use. I get that it's the principle of the thing, and once principalities get involved, logic tends to kind of wander off.
It's the principle of the whole thing. It's principalities in this.
But not having access to the surfing wave isn't the end of the world. Granted, we don't know how many slides are located on Coconut Island, so it's probably more than just that, so I could kind of get with Bobby a little bit, but don't be a Karen. It is worth complaining to Hank about, which Bobby absolutely does after he was thrown down the Big Katuba head first, something that could have caused major injury, but luckily didn't. Luann is surprised by his treatment, but let's be honest here, does it shock anyone that Luann gets treated better than Bobby by surfers?
That is so weird, because I always have really good experiences with surfers. Didn't they help put your sunscreen on, Bobby?
No.
Also, why is Peggy eating a sloppy Joe with a fork and knife? I'm not trying to hate on her, that's just odd to me. Maybe she's just gun-shy from that last time when she messed them up.
My sloppy Joe is all sloppy and no joke.
I forgot to add the meat. How could I be so freaking stupid?
Sorry, just something I noticed. That and this little snippet from Luann referring to Bethany Hamilton, a surfer who had her arm bitten off by a shark and then wrote Soul Surfer. Some of y'all might be familiar with the movie based on it, though what most people take away from her story isn't quite what Luann took away from it.
I read in a magazine about a girl surfer who was attacked by a shark, and against all odds, she still managed to be pretty.
Anywho, Bill continues his heat waving, at least he brought a lawn chair this time, though he's starting to look a little rosy there. Boomhower is tossing out some stuff from the 80s as he continues to realize he's not a youngster anymore. Boomhower, like most people, is getting older. We already know from Hank's on board that he dyes his hair.
Hey, man, I do, man. I'm talking about man, I'd dye my dang old hair, man.
And based off his look from the revival, he does not end up aging well. Not everyone ages well. We can't all be Salma Hayek or Cabot Cheese.
Boy, that cheese.
And I get what he's dealing with here. Not long ago, I was rewatching Road Trip and remembered a time when everybody could just drop what they were doing and go on an adventure. But unfortunately, we get older and get those daggum sponsor billeries. I can't party all night and into the next day without needing some recovery time like I used to. I'm at an age where I take a Tums before I take a shot. It happens to all of us, and one day, if it hasn't already, it'll happen to you. Turns out Grandpa Simpson was very much right.
I used to be with it, but then they changed what it was. Now what I'm with isn't it, and what's it seems weird and scary to me. It'll happen to you.
I'm also just now realizing that Boomhower brought his own air hockey paddle or whatever it's called when he was at the arcade. That's something else. Hank takes the kids back to the water park and talks to the manager, who's apologetic and promises to handle things. However, that's not quite what happens.
Tell him what's up, Tim.
This kid's daddy just came and talked to me about you guys.
I just call him Dad.
Dang it, Bodie, I don't ask any questions about what goes on Coconut Island. Now, I'm leaving this boy in your hands, and I don't want to have to come back here.
Yeah, if I was Hank, I ain't walking off until I see my kid using what he wasn't getting to use. And I want to see firsthand how exactly the manager's going to handle it. So, Hank, you kind of dropped the ball there. He put way too much faith in the manager of a water park. Also, Bobby, don't do that. Don't do the whole only brave if you think you're shielded from consequences thing. Tim buggers off, and surprise, surprise, Bobby ends up going down that slide again. This time completely naked, which is a crime, but hey, whatever. Con apparently is the one who picks them up this time, and even he fell victim to the wrath of Bodie the Gooch masseuse, who didn't appreciate Con's half shirt, though I do. It looks good. Makes more sense than what he had on earlier. And Dale brings up the idea that maybe Boomhower should talk to the surfers since he was once a surfer himself.
Maybe you could talk to those guys, Boomhower. Boomhower used to be the best surfer in Corpus Christi.
Nah, I don't know about that, man.
What do you mean? You're amazing. King of the beach, a golden god on a wooden board.
After some pushing from Hank and Dale, as well as showing the kids a video of him surfing back in the day that they aren't exactly blown away by, which is understandable seeing as his surfing was, well, different from today's, he agrees to help. Bill is still out waving in the heat, starting to take on a Zoidberg complexion there.
Hooray! I'm useful. I'm having a wonderful time.
And definitely in the realm of causing permanent damage to his body, not just his skin, as it appears he has heat stroke to the point that he's hallucinating and finally collapses.
Stop looking at me like that, Peggy! Stop it!
Props to Hank here for lifting a deadweight Bill the way he does. Yeah, I saw that. Boomhower takes the kids to confront Bodie and his band of wannabe surf ninjas, and we see that Bodie is kind of a fraud. He boasts about surfing at surfing simulation pools at various water parks rather than out on the ocean. I'm not a surfer, so I'm not gonna sit here and call him a poser, but I would not argue with any surfers that do. Boomhower asks surfer to surfer for them to let the kids use the ride. He's actually pretty respectful about it, and he goes about this the absolutely right way. But Bodie ain't hearing it and lays down a challenge.
If you're really a surfer like you say you are, then you'll do your talking on the wave. That's the only language I comprende. Comprende?
So I'm not one to talk much about cinematography, that's not really my bag, but this is great framing here. The two generations juxtaposed with a fire between them, yeah, good job on that. What's not so much of a good job is Boomhower when he tries to surf on the simulator for the first time in probably 20 years and fails pretty much immediately, bruising his ego and sending them back home with their tails between their legs.
Use it or lose it, old friend. You losed it.
Afterwards, Boomhower looks to get drunk on wine, and the kids try to play with a crappy water sprinkler, which makes no sense because, I have to repeat it, Con has a pool. What are they doing?
But this is real.
Hank goes to check on Bill and finds that he ain't doing too good. I mean, he didn't start off doing too well, but he really ain't doing too good. At this point, the burns on Bill's skin have more degrees than Dolph Lundgren. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what future skin cancer looks like. I mean, seriously, how is he wearing clothes? The level of pain that man must be in, and yet he shows very little sign of it. He's either doped out of his gourd or he's done some serious nerve damage, possibly both. Bill wants Hank to take his place as the heatwaver due to not being able to continue doing it himself, but Hank, like homie, don't play that game.
Wave for me, Hank. Wave to everyone, especially the old people and children. Wave to the children, Hank, and only give the thumbs up to truckers. You'll do that for me, won't you, Hank?
No.
Something I noticed in my multiple rewatches while making this video, Peggy mentions that the authorities asked people to conserve electricity until 6 p.m., but Hank being Hank has to push it to 7, so they have to wait until 7 p.m. to even turn on the air conditioner. Now, every year the electric companies try to tell people to not turn their air below like 78 degrees, but everyone ignores them because, yeah, screw that. But to have it off all day during a triple-digit heat wave is just pure idiocy.
The Department of Water and Power requested everyone conserve energy until 6 p.m., but your father had to show off and counter with 7.
It would have been in the 90s inside that house. That bucket of ice Bobby was holding would not have lasted long. By the way, for anyone that's surprised that squirrels have air conditioning, of course we have air conditioning. We don't live in the 1800s. We have air conditioning. We're squirrels, not the English. Personally, if I were Peggy, I'd have told Hank that either I turn on the AC and he shuts up about it, or I'll pay for it by going back to doing foot fetish work. I'm pretty sure that'll get the air conditioning turned on quicker than Hank if Mason introduced a propane-powered mower. Plus, you're gonna waste a lot of energy trying to cool the whole house down from being in the 90s. It just seems counterproductive, but apparently that's what Hank wants, even though he should understand the basic principles of thermodynamics given his occupation. Quick fun fact here, this episode actually contains the highest numbers of times that Hank says he's gonna kick someone's ass. Granted, it's only 3, but it's still the highest number.
But someone needs to get their asses kicked.
Finally. Yes, thank you. It's time to kick their local asses.
Bobby, language. But yes, I am going to kick their asses. To kick your ass.
After going through a scrapbook of old pictures, Boomhower decides to take a trip down to his old surfing grounds of Corpus Christi. But much like Jeffrey himself, the town and welcome sign have seen better days. That's a nice visual representation of aging there. And he sits on the beach, reminiscing about the past, running sand through his fingers like grains in an hourglass, and seeing just how old his hands have become. I've been there. He watches a young surfer nearby, then when he compliments him for his ability, and the kid asks if Boomhower's gonna go out himself, he gives a nice piece of advice that really helps Boomhower get his head in the right place and put things in the proper perspective. Sometimes that's what we need.
No, man, just like a dang old dog, man. Can't pick up them new tricks, man.
Shaw, brah.
New wave, man, can't beat it, man.
Yeah, can't beat the wave, brah. Beat the surfer.
So I started making videos in my late 30s. Up until that point, I'd never edited any kind of video or been successful in any creative endeavor. But I'd learned through trial and error, and I'm still learning, and I constantly strive to improve, and that's what we all have to do. Doesn't matter how old you are, how much experience you got, you just keep trying. One must not mark a revolution in time, but one must simply keep moving forward. You can't beat life. It's a river that flows, and no matter how hard you fight against it, you're going downriver. So don't worry about getting older, just worry about getting better. Anywho, Hank heads on down to the water park with Con and the kids in tow to handle this shenanigan business once and for all. Sadly, as soon as things start to get dicey, Con abandons them, including his daughter, and runs away in fear. What the crap, Con? Where are you going? See, we need stickin' Con. That's the Con we need for this situation.
Ha! Everything already been taken away. Hit him, Four Eyes.
They're talking about you.
Luckily, before Hank has himself a good old-fashioned slobber knocker on the shores of Coconut Island.
No more talking. No more surfing. My dad's finally gonna set things right on Coconut Island.
Boomhower shows up and takes control of the situation, taking the kids' advice in a more literal sense when he uses his surfboard to physically beat the surfers off the platform, allowing the waiting children to rush in and take over the slide, making all things right in the world, and Hank gets to see Boomhower do the flamingo, whether Boomhower regrets it or not.
The flamingo! The flamingo! My old knees, man.
Yeah, the knees. The knees always wear out. The episode ends with Bill back at it on the side of the road after being motivated to do so by a disappointed radio DJ. So he slathered himself up with zinc oxide like war paint and got back on the pile. He waves at Bodie, who's on his way home after being humiliated at Big Water, but he smiles and waves back, and this might not be popular, but I like this ending. Maybe Bodie learned a lesson here, and yeah, he's a giant douche canoe, but let him smile at the end of a bad day. So, four-wave intersection. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense continuity-wise, but I like what it says about aging and how it tackles Boomhower dealing with getting older. We seriously had a ridiculous shortage of Boomhower-centric plots because they tended to be rather well done. Bill's heatwaver subplot is pure Bill. It's very much in character for him, sadly, and we discussed on here before how he has a pattern of taking things way too far. Yes, I'm still gonna do a video about that, don't worry. This time, Bill puts his health and honestly life on the line to make people's days better, which very much could be seen as a result of his depression, literally willing to break himself in order to bring a tiny bit of light to the lives of others. Some choose to dwell in the darkness, some choose to give away what little light they have. That brings us to the water park plot, which was more stretched out than it probably should have been, but it was still entertaining. I get there's not a whole lot of watchability in an episode about a heat wave if everyone is just sitting inside their comfortable 70-degree homes, but still, I mean, the total omission of Con's pool just kind of taints this one a little bit for me. A simple throwaway line explaining why they didn't use it would have been fine. The gatekeeping and management not wanting to be involved seems like it's probably on point. point. No offense, but Tim probably has several fires to put out at pretty much all times, so he leans on the wrong people to handle situations in his stead. Bodie, as I mentioned, is set up to look like a poser. I mean, his nickname is from the most stereotypical surfing movie out there. I'm not saying it's a bad movie, just someone calling themselves Bodie after that movie is, well, lame. And notice how fast the order of things shifted once he was simply knocked off his perch. I guess Boomhower made a god bleed, so he lost his hold over everyone. To me, this episode isn't a bad episode. It's entertaining and does a lot of stuff right, but it reminds me of an album track. It's not quite good enough to be a single, but it's definitely good enough to make it on an album. It's what I like to call an in-betweener. There are better episodes, there are worse episodes. This one's just an in-betweener. It's got some funny stuff, has a good little message, definitely worth a watch. And you know, if nothing else, we can all look back fondly at Hank's admiration for the flamingo.
Did Boomhower do his famous flamingo? That's when he stands on one leg. That's not easy to do even on the ground.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all next time.
Oh boy, another day of triple-digit temperatures. Now it's official. This heat wave has lasted longer than my second marriage. So wherever you are, Rhonda, this song goes out to you.